Dunnellon City Council meeting, January 10th, 2022. Would you please rise for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Joe, remain standing. Is there someone in our attendees that would like to say a prayer or words of encouragement? Yes, Tom, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for your goodness, your grace, and your mercy. We thank you, Lord, for all that you're doing in this community and those things that are yet to come. Father, as we all gather here this evening, I pray that you would bless us with knowledge, wisdom, and discernment. Help us to make the right decisions that will bless this city as a whole, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Have a seat. Okay, let's get this going. Ms. Odom, roll call.
Yes, sir. Mayor White?
Present.
Vice Mayor Hanshaw? I am here. Councilwoman Williams? Here. Councilwoman Kenny?
Here.
Councilwoman Cubbage? Present. Troy Slattery, Public Works Manager?
Here.
Jan Smith, Finance Officer? Here. Georgina Sid, Community Development Manager?
Here.
Julie Janowski, Records Clerk? Here. Chief McClague is absent. Lieutenant Yachts?
Here.
Attorney Hand?
I'm here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted on the city's website, City Hall Bulletin Board on Thursday, January 6, 2022.
Thank you very much, Ms. Odom. Before we get started, does council have any comments regarding the agenda as it's published? No comments? All right. Now we go to public comment of non-agenda items. To describe this to you, if you have anything you would like to speak to council about, this is your opportunity to speak right now. If it's not on the agenda. If it is on the agenda, you will be asked to wait till that agenda item comes up. So here's the opportunity to talk about something new, something different, something strange, or even something mysterious. So here's your opportunity. Is anybody signed up, Ms. Odom?
Brenda DeYarville?
Ms. Yardeville? Name and address, please.
Brenda DeYarville, 11661 Camp Drive. Thank you for allowing me a couple of minutes of your time. I will not be able to continue the meeting. I have a staff meeting, so I'll leave immediately after. There was, at the workshop last time when discussing the police station issue, I did a little homework and I provided for you, I think, a document that will be helpful for everyone going forward. It's called the Police Facilities Planning Guidelines. It's put out by the International Association of Chiefs of Police. So why I did this, it's been a year, and in the back of that is the article that was published in the Ocala Star Banner, February 6th of 2021, about Dunnellon needing a new home. So it's been a year, and I just commend this council and all the staff for everything that you have done, the due diligence. Ms. Cubbage, you thought outside the box, you put a lot of work in, thought on this, brought things to our attention as public that we would not have probably thought of. And Ms. Hanshaw, you have been very diligent about looking at the fiscal side of this decision. And Ms. Williams, you've been very diligent about pointing out our focus should not leave that the police need a safe environment to work in. It's been a year, and we know that it should have been done a long time ago. And Ms. Kenny, you've been very diligent about pointing out from a 30,000-foot view what I think the public would support as a visible police department and not putting a non-conforming department in what I still say is a residential neighborhood. But with that said, you've taken the exploratory phase. It's been a year, and you've done a wonderful job. The mayor has had to take many calls, probably lose a lot of nights' sleep, had pressure from all sides. So he has spearheaded and been very diligent about listening to all suggestions, and has done a lot of the homework in his leadership. So the exploratory phase, in my opinion, is probably over, and now it would be to go into the planning phase. So I'm not going to take too long here, 42 seconds I've got, but if you look on page 4, it'll tell you that this document was primarily designed for law enforcement executives. And it's been made up for the expertise of police chiefs, police facility project managers, and architects. If you look briefly at just page 6 and 7, it tells you on page 6 there that you should hold community meetings to discuss the facility deficiencies and solicit the feedback, provided senior level approval has been granted. And it tells you on in the document that public hearings really don't work very well. It gives you a guideline for an approach. It talks about on page 7 about the community policing today, fusion centers into facilities which are 24/7 spaces where officers and the NGO staff can collaborate on community issues. Pages 20 and 27 it talks about conduct site evaluations, gives a good checklist there of items that would be needed for the place. So the point is, I think you're now in the planning phase, and what I think would be wise, and you can go online and find examples, is now to develop a decision matrix. And if you develop a decision matrix, that takes the emotions out of the process, and it is a structured, intelligent approach, systematized, and I think that'll help facilitate the final decision making and hopefully see a unified outcome. So that's just my 2-cent contribution. Thank you.
Wonderful 2 cents.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Ms. Odom, has anyone else signed up?
Bill Bibbert.
Mr. Bibbert? Name and address.
Bill Bibbert, 9552 Southwest 92nd Court Road, Dunnellon. I wanted to give the council a heads up, and I sent you an email last week. You probably saw it. The second reading of the Blue Run Ordinance, which we've come close to the end, the second reading is tonight, and hopefully that'll be the end of it. And we have a goal of April the 1st to get it implemented. But implementation of the ordinance is going to involve quite a few people, including Troy and the police chief and so on. We're going to need a plan for implementation. That means we have to get the signs up, which is required in the FCT plan. We have to have signs posted throughout the park. We have to agree on the language, which I'd be happy to write the language as I did before and present it to council for your approval. Also, we're going to need to deal with special use permits because we're going to have church groups, school groups, education groups, and so on. They're going to want to come in, and we have a no commercial use rule. And they may be using the vendors that the commercial deliveries use. So you're going to need a procedure for doing that. So somebody has to be able to take those applications and approve them. So there's and then there's, of course, the enforcement. One of the reasons that we got into trouble at Blue Run Park was there was no enforcement. We had warranty deed statements that said commercial use was prohibited, but there was no enforcement. So the commercial use just began to grow and grow and grow and grow. And the longer you let it go, of course, the harder it is to get out. So this is another issue that we're going to have enforcement there, probably on a daily basis in the beginning until we get it under control. So I just wanted to give you a thought before we get to April 1st. I hope we can be ready by April the 1st with our signs up, our operational plan set up, our scheduling done, and all the issues that we need to actually run a park and control the commercial use and get that all done. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. If I think that's pretty much what it was. Just wanted to tell you that this is coming, and it'll come pretty quick. So we don't want to be waiting until all the tubes and the vehicles show up and we don't have a plan. So that's all I wanted to bring to your attention tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Odom, anyone else signed up?
No, sir.
Okay, before we move on, this is your opportunity. If anyone in the audience would like to speak. Yes, Mr. Covert, name and address, please.
My name is David Koger. I live at 11983 Palmetto Way here in Dunnellon. This past week, I gave Troy and also Mandy copies of the permit for the bioretention area at the Rainbow River across from Swampies. And in that permit, it has some specific instructions to both the city and the county as far as maintenance goes. And part of that is they have to maintain the vegetation, and they have to maintain the original soil composition of the soil, and they delineate who's responsible for what. And they also indicate that if one party is not doing their part, the other party can step in and do it and seek reimbursement for it. It seems to me we got two options to be able to maintain that stuff, because obviously you've got pictures I gave you out here today that show that the vegetation that's supposed to be protecting the river is being tromped down by people using that as river access. Signs that can be enforced will take care of it, or fencing can take care of it. It doesn't matter to me which one does it, but my issue is we're here to protect the river. That's and Bill, that's one of the things you ran on. I think everybody here runs on that, is we're here to protect the river. And what we're doing is not protecting the river by allowing people to continue to use that area as a river access. Pictures don't lie. And 2 months ago, those pictures looked a lot worse than they do right now. So I would suggest we do something to resolve that, either signage that can be enforced or a fence. I understand Troy doesn't like the fence because it creates a problem for his maintenance. Good point. Signage that can be enforced. If we're going to have somebody enforcing rules across the street, it will be very easy to see when this area is being infringed upon, and somebody may take care of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Koger. Andrew, I know you've spent some time now examining this particular piece of property, and you've analyzed who's responsible for it, who owns it. In the meantime, until possibly we had a long-term answer to Mr. Koger's concerns, is it possible to put at least a no trespassing sign in that area that would at least deter people from walking down there when they see a no trespassing sign? I realize once they make it to the river, once they're in the river, they're swimming. Is that a possible Band-Aid solution?
Yes, I think so. I think when it comes to municipal property, oftentimes there's cases of fuzzy title. Nonetheless, you have a situation where the city has applied for a project and for a number of years has been acting as owner of property. There's no reason to act any other way and to abide by the obligations that are imparted upon the city.
So if council wanted to go forward with that concept, what would we have to do in order to initiate that and get that process started?
Ultimately, I'd say it's actually a staff decision. Council wouldn't need to do anything. But if council wanted to direct staff, then council can direct staff.
At what
But
time?
it's a decision that can be made on a staff level due to the expenditures.
At what time would council direct that or discuss that?
You could do that tonight if you wished.
At this time?
If you wish to take it up as a business item, sure.
Or do you want to bring it up during council comments? Do you want to?
Why don't we do it after the consent agenda?
Okay.
I mean, if that's okay with
Yeah.
everybody.
All right, let's, council, if you're okay with it, let's just discuss this immediately after the consent agenda.
Fine.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you for that suggestion. Yes, Ms. Dunn.
Kathy Dunn, 1138 Hendricks Drive. I wanted to mention that the beautification committee got together on Friday, or beautification group, and we worked on remulching and weeding the holly trees on West Pennsylvania. There are 32 trees. So we got down halfway down the street, and we're going to continue with this until we get it finished. We're going to move on to Ernie Mills Park to make it more attractive, to encourage more people to use it after this. And then we're going to focus on possibly sponsoring the citywide cleanup day in the spring. I wanted to commend our Public Works Department because they responded to the citizen request of getting the leaves up on the south side of East Pennsylvania last week. And then they continued down both sides of East Pennsylvania all the way to William Street by edging and weeding, etc., cleaning it up. It looks so much better. And this is like a pebble in a pond, as emphasized by Abigail Mackerel Esquire, who has put in a new fence along the street, which looks so nice. And I'm hoping that this is going to be like dropping a pebble in a pond, and our whole city is going to get looking so much better, cleaner, and well cared for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, it's nice to see that our action that we had what was it, last year, 2 years ago, the big thing, the community was getting involved and not just the city council always having to be the ones to go out. So I commend y'all for doing what the city as a whole wanted to happen. So it's great that citizens are getting involved.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else in the audience that would like to speak before we move on? Yes, Mr. Jones. Name and address.
Yeah, Art Jones, 12163 Palmetto Bay here in Dunnellon. Yeah, just wanted to say that was really good, the first presentation from the accountant, the police handout and everything. And I'm happy that you're taking a look at every single possibility. And I think while you look at every single possibility, don't rule out Souls Harbor Church. Because this is just my opinion, from my perspective, that's a solid building. So wherever you want to move to, you want that building to last like 100 years. And those people that built that church, they built that to last 100 years. That thing is solid. It's very, very well built. And when I look at it, it looks like it's basically in move-in condition. I mean, I got a tour of the present police facility. You know, you've got a gun room, very easy to fortify a room for that. You've got the evidence rooms. You just need to put a pass-through to the other side. You know, you've got bathrooms that are already in there. It's really a beautiful building. So I just wanted to say that after I sat through the workshop the other day for 2 hours and we banged around an awful lot of ideas. You know, I still think that should be kept in the running because I think the city got it at a good price. And I think it's just a solid building. What happens if we have a tornado rip through Dunnellon? Don't we want a really solid building to have our emergency services in? Maybe even a shelter for some of the people in the neighborhood that their houses aren't quite as strong and secure. So, I mean, then it becomes an emergency operations center. So I really think that, you know, keep an eye on it. The other thing I want to touch on is, I know you've got a listing for a real estate agent. When I lived in Crystal River and we had some city buildings come up, we had we called out to all the real estate agents and asked them to give us a bid on it, a closed bid on it. And the city was able to get a better rate on the commissions because some real estate agents are not here to make money off the city. Yeah, they make money on their clients and stuff like that, but when you're dealing with the city of Dunnellon, especially where you live, you know, you might want to lower the commission rate a little bit. And we had some real estate agents do that. So I wasn't sure if you've already put out an RFP for a real estate listing or not, but it might be a good idea. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
A lot of food for thought, Mr. Jones. Would anyone else in the audience? Yes, Mr. Anderson, name and address.
Chris Anderson, 11463 North William Street. Just going to touch on a few things on the river. As part of the private sector, it's always been our goal to fill the void in the demand gap of the passive recreational opportunities for members of the public, as laid out in the statewide comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, along with the local ecotourism community and the many visitors to the area, including those who are drawn to Blue Run Park and utilize privately owned public transportation options to access Rainbow River. One of the main issues we have is the approval of the City of Dunnellon's ambiguously defined commercial use definition. It's if I was in the city's shoes, it's very easy to change the rules of the game in the seventh inning of the ball game. And unfortunately, that's what's happening right now. So we're changing the rules, the definitions, what's in writing to enforce something that has already been taken place and approved in writing by prior administrations and been accepted by prior councils. So this creates a lot of issues. That's why I've been here so many times. We're trying to work with the city, but unfortunately, we're not playing fair here. And, you know, if that's the purview of the city, of you, Mayor, then it is what it is. But unfortunately, it's causing a lot of discrepancies, differences between the governing documents that have gone on in the past. Now we're amending management plans to further define to the liking of the city, and it just causes a bunch of other issues, you know, especially for a local brick and mortar business that has been conducting business in this town for over 10 years, and as a resident, taxpayer, businessman, multiple businesses in this area. It's unfortunately, we're at the final reading. You know, here it is, we're trying to build a police department, but I haven't even been able to chance to express different options that would help the city out, that we could generate some additional revenue to help them fill that void. You know, it's just like this no build for the turnpike. Well, it's no ecotourism. And unfortunately, we're signing agreements with the paddling trails and these other different organizations to trying to get people to come. We already have people coming to this area, and what are they going to do? They're not going to be able to rent a kayak or go down that river. You're just going to get them here, and then hopefully they get on the river somehow, or just limit them to a governmental use only, where they have to rent from the state park or the county and can't support local business. I don't agree with that, you know, and I don't see why, you know, it shouldn't be that hard of an issue to try to work with. Now, the local business community. Now, you want to stop other people from coming in? Absolutely. You want other outfitters or whoever from outside coming in to, you know, to use Blue Run Park or whatever else may be? Yeah, I can agree with that. But somebody who's been in business for over 10 years in the same location, providing a service to the local residents, you know, and the visitors to this area is just you know, absurd. I'm just going to keep on a little bit more. I had a couple other questions. I know we haven't touched on it a lot. I've been listening to some of the last few meetings. I get it, but Mr. Vibert and everybody else who's spoken on any of this have always.
I'm not even going to say that.
I'm sorry?
I'm not even going to say that.
Okay.
It seems to me like you're speaking to an agenda item.
Well, a couple different things. Some of it kind of goes together, just like Mr. Vibert was saying, you know, he's speaking on some stuff on Blue Run Park, and which could go to an agenda item. So a lot of it kind of crosses over. You know, anything with the river can be, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've already really spoken to 14. If you wait till we get back to 14, we'll give you another 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll touch on, because I did have some other things that.
Is that fair enough? Is that a good deal?
Fine.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to something that is not on the agenda? All right. Ms. Odom, please take note that the public has spoken. Now we're going to the consent agenda for the public. This will be the next 10 agenda items. I'm going to give you a few seconds to just look at that. What the consent agenda is, it's something that was discussed at the workshop. Council had a consensus, a unanimous consensus that these were in agreement. So with one vote, we will adopt all 10 possibly. We'll take a look at it. At this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to anything that's on the consent agenda, that's items 1 through 10? Nobody? Okay. Ms. Odom, please note that there was no comment from the public on the consent agenda. Council, I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
So
Do we have a
moved.
motion? Have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kenny. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. So we now are at agenda item number 11. The Proclamation 2022-01, the Dunnellon School Choice Week. Is there Mandy, is there anybody that could describe exactly what the school choice week is before we have public comment?
The way the proclamation reads, all children in the city of Dunnellon should have access to the highest quality education possible. The city of Dunnellon recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in the city of Dunnellon to be successful adults. Quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of the city of Dunnellon. The city of Dunnellon is home to a multitude of excellent education options from which parents can choose for their children. Educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. Our area has many high-quality teaching professionals who are committed to educating our children. School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise the awareness of the need for effective educational options.
Okay, very good. Is there anybody in the public that would like to make comment to item number 11? Okay, no comment. We have a proposed motion. We have a motion to proclaim PRO 2022-01 be approved as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kovich?
I'm going to abstain from voting simply because there are certain things that are associated with school choice that really don't make it an equal opportunity. And one of those problems with school choice here in Marion County is transportation. You can want to send, for example, a Dunnellon child to Westport. Westport will accept them. There's no transportation there. So that's one of the problems. The other problems is some of our charter schools that our county, put it this way, that the management were not embedded school employees that hired outside people. And one of these examples is with our disciplined high schools for convicted felons. And literally, there was money stolen at that charter school, and this charter school was shut down immediately, leaving those students with no place to go. So I will sign
Talking to your
this
microphone.
document, but there are issues.
Talking to your microphone.
I'm done.
Okay. All right. Ms. Kenny? Do you have any?
Well, I will be voting in favor, but I do appreciate the comments that are made because they're very difficult ones. I know educators are very concerned about those things. And I appreciate you bringing to our attention that this is much more involved than what we would like to ordinarily think is something obvious.
Okay.
This proclamation is not exactly what ordinarily City of Dunnellon would be signing because there are so many issues embedded within school choice just within this county. But again, I am going to sign this and hope that things can get better, okay?
I thought you were abstaining.
Yeah, you can abstain and vote for it.
Well, we haven't come to it. You can still decide when you want.
But can I ask the attorney, can she abstain for the reasons she gave? So I thought we had to have like a financial issue or be party or whatever.
For a voting abstention, there needs to be a citation to a source of conflict. That being said, there's no penalty for not voting, but a voting form does need to be filled out. But per law, there does have to be a conflict. You would have to declare a conflict on the form.
Okay. Ms. Williams, any comment on this? Yes.
I read this, and after my initial concerns, I found it to be satisfactory, so.
Okay.
And we have voted for things like this in the past, haven't we, Mandy? Like, has it been this one in particular, or?
We've received requests for the same proclamation many times over the years.
We've signed them and gone through with them, so just a FYI.
Being an individual that actually taught in the public school system for 6 years, I do have an opinion on this. Part of the school choice program is the opportunity that an individual, family, a child can choose a different school to go to, even though it's a private school or a public school. And they get a voucher, they get a tax voucher that can be used to help pay for their school. I look at this as a competition with our public schools where you're actually encouraging or giving people opportunity to leave the public school system and use taxpayer dollars to be spent to support private schools. I have some issues with that. A lot of times, the poor children of a community can't take advantage of this, even though it sounds on paper that it's a good thing, that if you're in a poorer area and the school happens not to be up to snuff, it gives you an opportunity to go elsewhere. But the truth of it is, in reality, oftentimes kids that live in poorer areas to private schools usually do not offer transportation, usually. So that means kids that are in the poorer areas of town, and we're talking about cities, they don't have the way to have transport. Possibly their parents are working parents who cannot take the time to take them there and pick them up, these sort of things. So it has been found that although it seems on paper that the impoverished can actually improve their situation through this, in reality, the way it works, oftentimes the impoverished cannot take advantage of this, while other people are sending their kids to private schools and using tax dollars to pay for that. For that reason, and someone who has taught in the public education system, I do not support school choice. So.
Yeah, and I'd just like to make a comment on what Bill just said. And again, it's a perfect example. We see it here right at Dunnellon High School. A student wants to go to Westport because it's a fine arts center. They got that huge auditorium, all kinds of opportunities, orchestra and so on. However, the child whose parent buys them the brand new car is the one in the Dunnellon area who is going to go to Westport. And that other child who is just as talented on the clarinet or the trumpet or whatever can't go because they don't have transportation. Okay, so there's too many holes in this program to.
Any additional comments?
So what happens if it's not supported? I'm just
We're
wondering.
just making a statement that we're not supporting a program that offers this opportunity.
Well, I appreciate the comments, it's the learning.
But is this one specifically regarding, I mean, because personally as a mother and a taxpayer, I'm not into vouchers, and that was my issue. But I didn't take this one as to say this is just for giving vouchers but this was for a multitude of different ways that our kids can learn, be it, and this was my interpretation, be it Zoom, be it mom and dad sitting down, pulling out their hair, trying to do second grade math, or taking a bus, walking to school, however. Again, I didn't think it was just about the voucher issue. I thought it was however you learn is a multitude of excellent education options is what the word I kind of focused on. It wasn't just about vouchers and stuff. So that's just how because I am not for vouchers personally. I voted against that. So I did not interpret this to be a voucher kind of thing.
But the school choice program is about
Is this a school
vouchers.
choice
It is.
program?
It's about vouchers.
I didn't,
It's a-
I didn't think this
Speak
was,
to that. It
I didn't think
doesn't-
it was that program. I didn't think it was that organization who sent it.
I have a question.
School choice is about vouchers.
My granddaughter was basically discussing which school she should go to and what her interests were and where she would like to end up. And that was a choice that the family made. And I think the fact that there were choices really, while they may not be easy for everyone, there are choices where you are led or you do get help. And I think it does broaden the scope of education. I am also opposed to vouchers, and I am opposed to our taxes going to private schools. But in terms of her opportunities, she definitely did have choices that she could make. And she had to decide whether she was going to Dunnellon High or whether she was going to other schools. And she made the choice that was right for her, but there was quite a bit of flexibility in her decisions.
Well, my-
Both carpooling with other people or listening to what the teachers thought or her own interests.
Well, my concern is twofold. Number one, the opportunity to choose a quality school. Who's against that? But my problem is twofold. Is the use of tax dollars to support private schools. So you're taking kids from the public school system, and the public school system is funded by the number of children that are in the public school system. So when you make an incentive for public school children to leave the public school system, and then you also give them a tax voucher, you're taking a double whammy. You're taking money from the pot, supporting a private school, and the school system itself is getting less money. The net effect of that is those kids that are most able to move out of a poor school will move, and then it will leave who can't afford transportation or don't have the ability. So you actually make a poorer school worse.
Well, if that were the
You're
scenario.
making it worse. It's making this at school as the more able students are able to leave, the students that are left are the ones that are the most disadvantaged. And now that school is getting less funds, and it's kind of, to me, it's actually exacerbating the problem with a poor school.
Well, her choice was between two public schools, whether she wanted to go to Dunnellon or whether she wanted to go to Westport.
But the school choice does include private choices too.
It does, but her choice happened to be between two public schools.
I'd like to
Mandy,
add,
did you
yeah,
have something?
like,
I just went to the website. I don't know if this is helpful or not, but I have the email from the president, Andrew Campanella of National School Choice Week. And I'll read this to you. It says, "We are respectfully requesting that you consider joining city and county leaders across the country in officially recognizing January 23rd through 29th as School Choice Week. Issuing a proclamation provides an opportunity to shine a positive light on the K-12 education options available for children and families in Dunnellon. Last year, more than 300 mayors and county leaders, along with 27 governors and the unanimous United States Senate, issued proclamations recognizing School Choice Week. National School Choice Week is entirely non-political and nonpartisan, and we do not advocate for or against any legislation. Our goal is simply to raise awareness among parents of the public and non-public K-12 education options available for their children." And then he provides a website, and when you pull up the website, one of the first things you see is what is school choice. School choice means giving parents access to the best K-12 education options for their children. These options include traditional public schools, public charter schools, magnet schools, private schools, online academies, and homeschooling.
So my response to that is everybody has that choice to go to a private school now. So repeating that we support people having a choice to go to a private school, that stands on its own. The only thing that I like about it is you have the opportunity to choose possibly a different public school that's better. But make no doubt about it, the reason they're talking about private schools, you wouldn't even have to mention that, is because there's incentive, it is incentivized if you want to go to a private school. But anyway,
I'd like to make one more comment.
yes.
And this is something probably the public doesn't understand, but as a teacher, I certainly do. And that is forever, and even today, private schools, whether it be parochial or anybody who wants to start a private school, one, your teachers don't have to be certified by the state of Florida. Number two, your students don't have to take the Florida standardized tests. It is not required. And what does that do to our public schools? One of the big problems is our public schools gain funding by the incentives they are given as their students perform higher than average on the tests. In other words, if a school performs on the top 50 percentile of all students testing at a grade level, they're going to get more money next year. If they're performing at 45% or lower, they get their funding cut. However, the private schools, their kids don't even have to take the tests. Okay, so there are many discrepancies that just still don't make it an equal program when it comes to taxpayer money and what your individual student is going to get in terms of dollars per year spent on salaries, supplies, and classroom computers and whatever. So
Okay, let's bring
not
this to a
good.
vote. This is just simply a statement whether we support that concept or not. So we have a motion, we have a second, we've just completed discussion. All in favor of signing this proclamation, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Nay.
nay. How did you vote, Miss?
I thought you were going to ask me. Aye.
Okay, it passes 3-2. Very good. Mr. Koger, I apologize. We were supposed to hit you very first before we went to the agenda, and we went into number 11. So we'll backtrack based on council's wishes. There was some discussion about instructing staff to put a no trespassing sign in the area of concern where Mr. Koger's property is. Council has suggested that this is something that council can just direct staff to do. So any ideas, discussion on that?
Can we just put in a no river access, no swimming sign? I just hate the word no trespassing. I don't know. I mean, because I don't even, even if we put a no trespassing sign, is it enforceable?
You have a public facility there.
I mean, will the same thing be as good if we say no swimming, no river access, or no?
I think swimming governs what's in the river. It's just, whatever signage you want to keep people out, keep out signs. I think it's a matter of choice.
I'm good with it either way, whether it says no trespassing or no river access. It just makes someone see that sign and makes someone decide whether they want to go past the sign or not. It gives the police a reason to, if they see someone walking through there, it gives the police a reason to say something.
No public entry. Maybe the no public entry would be, I just hate the word, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would be better. I'll tell you why, when you put up a no trespassing sign, there's always those letters underneath, those words underneath that says, under penalty of the law, and we don't have a law that says they can't go there, so I think it's better.
Yeah, he
if
just
you
said
put a
we
sign.
do. He just,
do?
the council.
Is there?
Well, you have, the city has maintenance duties and so forth and a public facility. Now, you don't have an ordinance per se, but it's understood that you can't trespass on public property that is supposed to be for maintenance purposes.
And I think this, I'll go with the stronger language, no trespassing.
I'm good with no trespassing.
fine, whatever.
So am I. But you're a good suggestion. Okay, staff,
Make it pretty, Troy.
make it so.
I mean, you just don't want to be a city that first thing you see when you walk in is get off the grass.
Troy or someone on staff, I'm sure the question Mr. Koger would like to ask right now is, since we've made that decision, how long would it take for us to get a sign put up there?
I'll get it up by the end of the week. I'll have something up by the end of the week and something more permanent if I have to order a special one in.
Okay, thank you very much.
And just real quick, Troy, you didn't have an issue with the fence because of maintenance, did you?
No.
Okay, he had said that, so I just want to make sure, because I'd never heard you say you wouldn't put up a fence, or you prefer not to put up a fence because of yard maintenance or anything. I just want to make sure that was clear.
When we put up a fence, though, we'll have to make access for maintenance, but I have no issue with having a fence as a result of maintenance.
I just wanted to make sure.
But if I may, I'd like to remind the council that 2 years ago, or a little over a year and a half ago, when COVID began, we put up no trespassing signs or do not enter signs.
You took them up.
And we had a temporary fence put up, which was violated in less than 24 hours of putting it up, and continued to be violated every single day for a period of about a month, when we finally took it down as a result of them throwing it in the river. So I will have signs put up, or at least a sign on the property that says whatever I can get it to say this week. And as soon as I can get one ordered in that says no trespassing.
Sound like you
I'll
need
do
a
so.
permanent security guard stationed.
Maybe
with
do
the
skull
sign.
and bones there, that it's, hazardous waste that's sitting on, then you will radiate it, you walk away.
So Mr. Koger, let's see how this works. And the police now have a sign to enforce. So it's just a matter of enforcing it. You're in a position you can see when it's being violated. So we'll give you the chief's direct phone number. All right, let's just see how that goes, all right? And then we'll take it from there.
Is that your property where I see all those trees and stuff? You can't even see your house, so.
No.
Okay.
You're behind the hedge there.
So you're gonna have to either walk around those trees or get in your car and drive around, I guess.
Okay, and thank you for your patience, and thanks for working with us. I think I said to you one time, no one normally answers the phone until you call 3 times, right? Right, so keep working at it. Okay, we're at number 12 right now, the agreement 2022-04, Foxfire Realty Listing Agreement for 11808 North Ohio Street. Mandy or Andrew, you can speak to this.
Yes, sir. We did get the agreement last week from Mr. Aiken, and Andrew did review it and had some changes which have been made, and I emailed this updated agreement to you this afternoon.
I didn't see it.
And if you want, we can go over some of the changes. It was a standard listing agreement. And Mr. Aiken, I can show you some of the changes that were made, and if Andrew wants to explain, if necessary, we can do that.
Okay. Anything else?
Question.
Well, the items that are stricken there are, you'll see there's an addendum
okay.
where it puts it back, but different language.
Oh, an attorney.
Maybe I'll just go to that. How about let's just go to that.
That's better.
Okay.
So I'll tell them if I'm holding.
Are the changes underlined?
This is the change right here.
So some of the changes in the actual body of the agreement are strike-through, which signal deletions, of course, in the contract. And then there are additions and replacements within the addendum. And I can walk through those with you if you'd like me to.
Yes, please.
Well, let's do that after we get done with the public comment, and that will be during our discussion, okay? Okay, public comment, Mr. Akins? Name and address, please.
My name is Van Aiken. My address is 615 East Silver Spring Boulevard, Ocala, Florida. I'm the real estate broker that we have agreed to sell the Soul Harbors Church. Asked me to send a contract to you, which I did. Andrew edited it, and I agreed to the changes and added some additional languages in the contract, which protects me as a broker from other brokers suing me because the city didn't agree to sell the property. So I'm in agreement. It gives y'all an agreement that you can back out of the agreement, and we can go forward with the agreement and hopefully get the agreement, the property sold. That's the way I understand it.
Believe it or not, I did understand what you said.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions?
We might ask you to come back up. We're going to have the
That'd be great.
public comment. Anyone else that would like to make public comment on item number 12? This is the listing of the Soul Harbor Church for sale. Yes, Mr. Jones.
Yes, Art Jones, 12163 Palmetto Way. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that you might want to put an RFP out for that because there's quite a few real estate agents right here in Dunnellon that didn't get a chance to offer their services. There was no RFP put out. And sometimes you'll come up with a lower commission rate on it, which I'm sure the city wants to save as much money as possible. A lot of times, like I say, real estate agents, they don't want to make money off the city. You know, they're charitable people too. And the city is a nonprofit. It's not, maybe not all real estate agents are charitable, sorry. But they can be. Some real estate agents can be very charitable and very generous to help the city out. And then also, I think that, I'm not sure if it's in there, but if you decide as you bring it all together that maybe that was the best place after all, I just want to make sure that in there, if you decide to sell it, you can get out of that contract. You can say, hey, you know what, we're going to keep it. Does that say that?
Paragraph 11.
Okay, so we're going to keep it after all, so then good. So that's a positive. But, you know, I just might suggest you shop out the rates a little bit, the commission rate on that among the local people right here in the city of Dunnellon. You know, just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Anyone else in attendance? Would you like to make comment to this? Okay, Angela will come back to you and maybe you can go over some of the changes for council and then we can have our motions and discussions.
Sure, I'd be happy to, and I'll do my best here. This is kind of one of those situations where it's better to have two computer screens since I'm going to be looking at comments in one place and some changes elsewhere. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to interrupt me and I'll address it. The first change, you see that 7E was deleted and replacement. And right now we're just looking at the addendum and you see the new language. It's the same, you know, per the standard terms of listing agreement, there's a indemnification of the buyer, or pardon me, an indemnification of the seller by the buyer. Since in this case, we're dealing with the city, we want to be sure that we don't waive the city's sovereign immunity or by agreeing to an unlimited indemnification, waive those limits. So all that this does is simply place in 768.28 limitations for claims for its $200,000 and $300,000. The city can't be liable for anything more than that. If that language wasn't in there, the city could have unlimited liability. So that's just making it comport with what we see and what's expected in Florida law. There's a change in 8A. And if we look at 8A, there's an addition up there towards the, go back up if we can, Mandy. You'll see that per the standard terms, closing is not a prerequisite for broker's fee being earned. In this case, with city contract, closing is a prerequisite for broker's fee being earned, subject to some additional circumstances referenced in 8B. And you'll see that 8B remains the same with section 2 marked out, just immediately below it. We can carry on. Let's comment here. Yeah, 8D has that modification, so there are just two conditions. Broker's fee would be due if the city were to transfer any interest in the property during the terms of this contract by any means to anyone else, or if within 90 days after the termination date, the city transferred the property to anyone with who the broker had communicated, essentially.
So just real quick, Andrew, on line number 127, retained deposits, it's 25%. The listing agent would receive 25% of the deposit if the buyer were to back out. But that would not give the other agent any of those funds, correct?
I'm not quite sure. You're asking for the buyer's agent?
The listing agent would receive 25% of a retained of.
Correct.
Okay, but the buyer's agent, if their buyer backs out, does not receive any of those funds.
There's no provision for that, no.
Is that how you do it, Mr. Ray? You don't give commission to when commission was not earned if their buyers back out?
Rarely do you see that happen.
Oh, I mean, it happened the other day, so that's why I'm asking.
Well, usually it's in the contract. It would be in the purchase and sale contract.
Okay.
And not so much in the listing agreement.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, the next change would be under section 12. And so there, Mandy. Actually, we can start with section 11 there. Section 11 is deleted as you see, and then it's actually restated in the addendum that states, seller may terminate this agreement at its convenience by providing broker a written notice of termination. If seller terminates this agreement, seller will pay broker a cancellation fee of $2,500. So in other words, once this is listed, if the city were to change its mind and wish to delist the property, take it off the market, that would be essentially a $2,500 fee paid to the broker for whatever work had already been provided at any stage of the listing. Under section 12, there's been some modifications there, back up there, and this is simply eliminating the arbitration provisions. Arbitration is something that don't recommend in municipal law being bound by an arbitrator, litigation if there's a dispute, and certainly don't foresee that there would be, but any litigation, any kind of dispute would be resolved through litigation following mediation, and any text referencing arbitration is deleted. There's an addition to section 14, and this is an addition, Mandy, so this is probably within the addendum down there, if I remember correctly.
Additional terms underneath the 2,500.
Section 14.
14, that was the additional terms.
Right, okay.
Additional terms. There's just 3 paragraphs.
All right, so first, in addition to paragraph 8, no commission shall be due to broker or any cooperating broker in the event that the sale of the property fails to close for any reason other than owner's failure to perform once the purchase and sale contract is executed. So if something goes wrong and it's not the city's fault, the city doesn't have to pay that commission. The next paragraph, seller may refuse any offer at its sole discretion with no commission due to broker. If seller refuses or fails to sign an offer at the price and terms stated in this agreement or agrees with the buyer to cancel an executed sales contract, then broker may terminate this agreement by providing written notice to seller, and in such event, seller shall pay the sum stated in section 11 to broker. That gives the city an out at any stage in the game. It would never have to pay the full commission if the city chose that it was going to retain the church or not proceed with the sale. The city's out is, in that case, $2,500 fee. And Mandy, I think that's the last one, other than, of course, we're dealing with the CRA statutes and there's a reference to that. But those are all the changes. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions, comments by council? Okay. We have a proposed motion. I need a motion. I move the mayor be authorized to sign the agreement AGR 2022-04 with Foxfire Realty. I need a motion and a second.
I make the motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second it.
Any further discussion?
I'll start it off. And I'll have to apologize to Mr. Van Akens, this is nothing for you. This would be Joe Q, realtor sitting out there, so please, this is nothing with you, sir. I know for a fact that you're an excellent realtor and broker, so I know any property would be in good hands with you. However, last Wednesday, we sat here for 2 hours at a special meeting, and I kicked myself when I got home because I realized we didn't accomplish what we were trying to do. We talked a lot more, which we are wonderful at, but we did not come to any even decision about what should be off the books, what shouldn't be off. I go back to those TV shows that you see when you can't sleep at night and you watch buy your favorite beach house on the island of Maui or something, and you go and you look at the 3 houses and the couples sit and they see the 3 houses and debate which ones they want, but usually they have a nice little Mai Tai thinking about it. Sadly, all we get is maybe a seltzer water and indigestion by the end of the evening for our decision making. We didn't accomplish anything except to put out there what we all know. And again, good ideas, different ideas. And I on Thursday morning, I even received an email that I get quotes, and I'm stealing yours. I didn't do any copies of me. But this is just a saying that came into my emails that I get a quote, and it's by Lin Yutang, probably just ruined his last name, and it says, "Hope is like a road in the country. There was never a road, but when many people walk on it, the road comes into existence." And then it goes on to say, "We have to believe we can move forward together before taking the first step." And I said to the council, this quote was in my email on Thursday morning. These words are what I strive for with this council and all I work with. Wanted to share this with you as I thought maybe the words in writing would resonate with you more than my words have. Walking this path together. Respectfully, Valerie Hanchar. We didn't walk the path together last Wednesday. We haven't been walking the path together. We haven't X'd off any of our decisions, even just taking a decision off the table, because we just haven't, and I'm sad about that. I want us to work on this together. And again, I have here where we had back in August a preliminary of how much somebody thought it might cost to revamp Souls Harbor if we got the wish list of everything we want. So we've had the opportunity to honestly dig in deep and look at the numbers and ask for help from somebody. We haven't even hired somebody that came to us for $10,000 to do an engineer report for us or design for us. And I feel horrible about asking Mr. Van Akens to come here to possibly sign up and do hard work, because I know nothing's easy. It can take 4 to 5 hours just to get the listing on the stupid MLS. And in 3 weeks from now, or at the end of this meeting or something, we might decide that property is the right property as it was purchased for. And as the mayor gave us an excellent example the other day, if we can get it done for $365,000 to get us in there, not the additional 2 years worth, then that is a really good property and location. The zoning is there for it. We've gone through that. It's ready to go. We can get in and we can start. And I just feel very bad if we vote yes tonight to go into a listing agreement when we as a city haven't even put X on anything. So that's my statement.
I'd like to make a statement.
Yes, Ms. Kovich.
Yeah, and Councilwoman Hancher, I respect your opinion. I, however, do have another perspective, and that is the sale of the church is going to add money to the pot. Okay, and ideally, our police chief, when he worked with the modular company that offered the steel building, it was a perfect situation to get a brand-new police station that would last for countless number of years. And the booklet Brenda gave us, I don't know if you all remember, but I sent you, our council people, that website and cited a number of pages that I wish you would read. And one of these, they go through the stipulations. For example, your police station acts as an emergency center, and I'm reading right out of here because I'm familiar with this literature. It's online, and again, I had sent you back in March this website. Of the 5 building types that that are considered to be storm shelters, they have to be withstanding 250 miles per hour speed zones for tornadoes. Okay, that church doesn't qualify. That steel modular building, however, would have. Okay, again, if we sell the church and we get that money back in the kitty and we purchase the lot that we had first considered out on Powell Road for particularly those 2 lots, great location. Then we go after a grant. And if you're looking for grant money, USDA rural assistance funds aren't going to send you $450,000 when you ask for it if you're talking about a rebuild or a refit. However, if the city owns the property, guess what? Besides the pot of money we're going to get from the sale of the church, then we are qualified to go for a USDA rural assistance grant for something like $400,000. Add it all up, okay? That could be a doable to give us a police station this city could be proud of, and it would be paid for. Thank you.
Anyone else? You don't have to speak if you think you've already beat the horse as much as it needs to be beat.
Well, sadly, I do feel I've beaten the horse some. But we know that this is a divided council. When people speak genuinely from their hearts, as we all do, we don't necessarily come up with the same conclusion. And in terms of my opinion, there is a lot more work that needs to be done yet. And one of the directions that I feel very strongly in, as does our Planning Commission chair, is that this is not, that this particular building is not in the proper residential or commercial location that typically you would expect for a police station. And that is just a fact. And so my position is that we are a divided council and that we're going to have to regroup at some point. And in terms of how healthy the building itself is, I have also heard from a former mayor who has intimate knowledge of the building that it is not really a healthy building. So there are differences of opinion, and I am not aware that we have ever had an inspection of that building.
We have, yes, ma'am.
Well, then I would question that, because I think that Mr. Rakowski is the individual that I'm speaking of, Mr. Rakowski is very familiar with that building, having been the treasurer of the Methodist Church for a considerable period of time prior to it being Souls Harbor. And I think he's spoken to other people on the council as far as information that I've received. So there are a lot of things that I question. And I am definitely in favor of that building being, of giving Mr. Van Aken an opportunity to see if he can come up with the money that would add to what we might be able to do in the future. And so that is my position.
Ms. Williams?
Mr. Van Aken, nothing against you, but I don't think the building should be sold. I think our police department should be in that building. My opinion has not changed.
Okay, there's nothing I could possibly say that you haven't heard at least 10 times before. So we have a motion, we have a second, we've just had discussion. We'll bring this to a vote. All in favor to authorize the signing of this agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Me.
The motion passes 3-2.
Surprise.
That's what I thought.
Not surprise. You can't take a leap of faith.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're not gonna throw anything at us.
I'm gonna go to work.
Thank you.
Find $2,500 for you.
Okay. We're at number 13 now, Resolution 2021-16, amending the March 2008 Blue Run Park Management Plan. Andrew, if you can just maybe briefly describe that, and then we'll have public comments and we'll get into discussion.
Yes, Mayor, I'd be happy to. This is Resolution 2021, pardon me, -16. And you first saw the first incarnation of this resolution back in November. And the purpose of this, it works hand in hand with the ordinance that you'll be considering later, making some changes to the management plan to define commercial use and have that definition in there is also recognize the ability of Marion County to do what they do and provide the KP whole shuttle service. What's changed in this draft since the original one is the original one was readopting the management plan. The resolution that originally adopted the management plan has been located, and that's 2010-15. So the whereas clauses have changed slightly as a readoption is not required. Also, when this went out on the agenda, the mayor contacted me and following its placement on the agenda and asked me a question on the ordinance that is coming up. You remember we talked about that, of course, most recently back in December. It contains some language that states the KP whole shuttle service provided by Marion County or its contractor on behalf of Marion County is the sole transportation service authorized to operate within Blue Run Park. That was passed upon first reading. Mayor's question to me is, can that sentence be incorporated into the management plan via this resolution? My answer was yes, it can go into the management plan. However, it's important from a legal perspective, from my perspective, to adopt the management plan changes prior to the ordinance becoming effective. And also, of course, it's important to provide, we discussed making sure that anybody who's affected by the new regulations have plenty of time to prepare for those regulations to, become active, which is at this time, April 1st per these dates. Accordingly, to insert this language, it has to go back through, any change in a management plan would have to go back through the partners. When I say partners, I mean those named in the management plan, the Office of Greenways and Trails, Marion County, and FCT. I did speak with FCT, and they are not opposed to that language going into the management plan. And so what I had discussed with Mayor White is bringing this forward as is, and also creating an accompanying resolution that could make that change. And I've been directed to do so. in my conversations with staff, if you look at some of the materials you have in front of you, there's a resolution 2022-03. And the meat and potatoes of this resolution is just inserting that language. The KP Whole shuttle service provided by Marion County or its contractor on behalf of Marion County is the sole transportation service authorized to operate within Blue Rum Park. So the option that was discussed is tonight, you can move forward adopting this plan as is. It is consistent with the ordinance that follows. It just simply recognizes the rights of the KP Whole shuttle service. And in addition, should you wish, tonight you can direct staff to submit this resolution 2022-03 to those state entities and of course Marion County for review. And at that point, subject to their review, it could come back to you all on the February workshop agenda and then for adoption. As you recall, none of these pieces of legislation will become effective until April 1st. And so the order of their effectiveness would be this resolution 2021-16, then resolution 2022-03, and then finally the ordinance. So if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer them.
The question I would have, when we finish our business on item number 13, when and where would we then direct staff to create the new language that we're looking in addition to? Would we do that immediately once we're done with 13?
Yes, you could work it into that just by separate motion, or you can just direct staff to send it to FCT. The public, if you direct staff to send it to FCT, the public will get a chance to speak on it in February, or you could take comment on it tonight and do it by motion.
Mm-hmm.
So that is up to you.
Okay, very good. All right, on item number 13, you've just heard the legal description of it. We will now accept any public comments on item number 13. Yes, sir, Mr. Anderson. Name and address.
Chris Anderson, 11463 North William Street. It's got a couple things as far as the amendment to the management plan. Here it is, we're defining what the city is considering commercial use, obviously 13 plus years later, but it's given an exception for KP Whole shuttle and a few other things. But what it does not explain, the procedures to obtain an exemption and what to obtain an exception and what exceptions would be considered acceptable, an acceptable written agreement, or any appeals process for the denial of a written agreement exception in order to facilitate due process on something. You know, it's saying, you know, commercial use prohibited except by written agreement, but it's not saying what written agreement would be acceptable. So I just have an issue with that. That's one of the main things. Also, I know previously there was some discussion on TNC's transportation network companies and taxis, Ubers, Lyfts, that sort of thing. And I never heard any other further discussion on that. Was taken out of one of the draft ordinances. There was no further discussion, public discussion on that. I was just curious what happened to that. Is it just, are they preempted by the state and you're just not including it in the ordinance, or what is the deal there? I'm just need some clarification.
I'd like to know that.
So to the first question, dealing with.
Well, Andrew, let him finish his.
Oh.
Well, no, I'm good.
Then you can
Go
answer.
ahead. Go ahead.
Because right now we're into how much time.
Well, he's already spoke, so I'm not going to interrupt.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris.
Okay, Andrew, please.
Okay. So to the first question, with the language in for Mayor White's question, if that language goes in 2022 and that's adopted next month and it all becomes effective on April 1st, there is no exception for shuttling. KP Hole is the only shuttle, and the ordinance states as such. That's the only one that is approved. And you'll see that in the ordinance. That was part of the language that was passed on first reading in the ordinance. As far as TNCs, that discussion was had by council, I do recall, and the decision was made to leave all of that out, so they too would not be operating within the boundaries of the park.
Even though they're preempted by the state, that no local ordinance can govern anything restricting transportation network companies?
You think this is the proper time to answer that or not?
I don't have anything to say. The fact of the matter is that, the city controls its park.
Well, I get
and
that.
what can enter the park and what cannot enter the park. And that's all there is to it.
Just like the firearms, I get that the city can't control the firearms. Just that language is in there for a reason because it's preempted by the state. And the same thing with the TNCs. And that's why I'm just having some issues with needing some further clarification. Obviously you guys are the ones that are going to be the ones enforcing it. So I would like to try to get that clarification from you all and your council. But in addition to that, I think I don't know if it's coming up now. It might be on the next one. I'll touch on that. But those were the main things with that. And as far as the new resolution, I haven't had a chance to look at that, but you guys were just going over. I would like a chance to take a look at that before having any other further public comment on it. So
absolutely.
If we can get any clarification on the TNCs, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to make a comment on item number 13? Mr. Jones?
Yeah, Art Jones, 12163 Palmetto Way. I would just like to state what I was thinking of this. It's like, the KP shuttle service by the county is only seasonal. And I see people coming in there all the time unloading their kayaks or picking them up. Or, and there's different vendors that go in there and pick them up. They rent them the kayaks, they set them up at KP Hole, they maybe take them all the way up to the springs, they pick them up, take them out. There doesn't really seem to be a problem with that. I mean, like I say, the tubing, if it's exactly tubing, then yeah, the tubing is too much. They got the big trailers, they take up the whole parking lot, and that's just the county. So we don't really need a lot of extra vendors with tubes. But is that telling people that they can't use it commercially to launch kayaks? That's kind of sad. Like I say, we talked about it at the other meeting. We need more public access to the river. You're choking the people out. The river should belong to everybody. If it gets too busy, maybe you can put in a reservation system or something. But everybody should be welcome and invited to use the river. It's state property, belongs to all of us. And I know that being a private property owner on the river, I know we all own our little piece and we squeeze everybody else out. There's so few access points. So the public comes in, they want to see the river, they want to spend money in town, they want to make our community good. They should be allowed to hire someone and, maybe they drop them up on up by Sup Knockers, up with Withlacoochee and come down with Withlacoochee, get out at Blue Run Park or right behind here. Are we worried about what's going on here? Are we going to restrict commercial traffic there too? So I don't really understand what's going on here. Why you're just kicking everyone out, but yet the county is the biggest commercial business there is. And there are complaints all the time that the county's not sticking in. They're not even going to pony up for the restrooms. That's just plain rude. It is. I was here years ago and they said, oh yeah, we all passed it, they're going to build nice restrooms and let's treat the people good so when they come out of those kayaks or off those tubes, they can run up and use the restroom. Oh no, nothing happened. And then I asked Jim about it, he'd say, oh, well, we don't have the money anymore, costs went up. It's like, come on. And they're the only ones that are allowed to shuttle people. Yeah, come on, sometimes the government business isn't the best business. Private people can do a little bit better and let's allow people to have access to that river. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Would anyone else like to speak? Julianne? Name and address, please.
Julianne Mendoza, 11894 East Blue Cove Drive. I wasn't going to speak because I feel like I've been to so many workshops and meetings when we've talked about this. But in hearing the last couple of speakers, I guess I would just point out that I know that there's a lot of like Mr. Jones has some passionate thoughts about this today. But over all of these workshops, I think that I've spent a lot of time learning the history of Blue Run Park, through Bill Bibbert, through Paul Marafino, and really the passive nature that the park was originated for. You could say we're squeezing people out, or you could say that we're preserving that park for really what it was intended for. So I think that the county, if I'm not mistaken, the county helps us with maintaining that park and really is an excellent partner in that. So, you know, as far as costs of not being able to build the restroom right now, I don't think it's good to just point the finger at the county and say, oh, maybe they're not doing their part. I think we all know that costs of construction are way up, and that's a barrier. And the current council is already introducing ways that we might be able to better partner with the county to get those things done. So I'm not seeing it as squeezing people out. I'm seeing it as protecting what the park was made for. So I'm in real support of what we're doing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Jason Crapson, 1590 West J. Williams Lane. The issue with the park, I've been listening to these meetings because I'm doing your tech support, but the issue with this park, I kind of have to stand up at this point. I don't think it's right for the government of any kind to just flatly stamp out somebody's livelihood like this. I've heard people talk about there's no other really entries or exits for that river, and I also hear a lot of talk about environmentalism with the river, protecting the river, not protecting the river, protecting the park, not protecting the park. And there is a balance to be had. And to me, this is sort of a stamp down, end all, top down thing to just completely stamp it out, which leaves a lot of questions. Like, some people have concerns about there being only the government's allowed to do business there, in terms of this is a city government, obviously. However, I find that, like the speaker before the previous speaker said, the government's business isn't always the best business. And you can see that all across the country and the economy. More to the point though, sorry, I'm a bit nervous. More to the point though is that if we are going to stop people completely from doing business regarding the river on public land, then I have to wonder about people that are living on the river. Now, they've been living on the river the whole time, and there's environmental concerns with that. And I hear a lot of the speakers that have come up over the past couple of months talk about people being noisy on the river. It's like, well, they're on the river too. Their houses took out lots of trees, lots of environment to be there. And how far is it going to go? Today, it's just this park in the city, but who knows, maybe since that precedent is being set, another council will decide that, maybe we should just kick those people off the river. I'm sure a lot of those former speakers that were in favor of this ordinance would be against it at that point.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Anyone else would like to speak? Okay, Ms. Odom, please. One more? Okay, Ms. Kohler, Mr. Kohler.
My name's still Dave Koger. I still live at 11983 Palmetto Way, Dunnellon, Florida. Again, I think that the city council has done a very good job at sorting through all this stuff. Just because somebody in the past made a decision that did not support the livelihood of the river and the maintenance of the river doesn't mean that we should still continue with an old ruling that granted too many people access. You know, when we bought here a number of years ago, there was a certain amount of traffic on the river, and that traffic has doubled. I understand FWC is now doing some studies to find out the exact impact that this extra traffic the river is now supporting, what impact it has had on the river. I can tell you this, The fish life is down, the otter life is down. Wildlife in general is down. I understand that people would like to have access to the river, but if you give everybody all the access they want to the river, they will destroy it, like they did just out in front of our house. We used to have nice stand of eelgrass out there, and it's now nothing but sandy white beach from so many people standing on that. That means the fish are gone, the otters are gone. So I would like to thank the city council for doing the job they're doing.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right, very good. Ms. Odom, please take note that the attendees have had their opportunity to speak. Public comment is over. On agenda item number 13, the proposed motion. I need a motion, resolution 2021-16 be read by title only. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second it.
Okay, Ms. Kenny. Ms., you vote first, okay. All in favor?
Are we up for discussion?
Not on this is in title only.
Oh, title only, okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. Okay, Mandy, please read.
Resolution number RES 2021-16, a resolution of the City of Dunnellon amending the March 2008 Blue Run of Dunnellon Park Management Plan as specified herein, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Very good. We have a proposed motion now for resolution 2021-16 to be approved. Do we have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Any discussion? Any further discussion on that?
I would just like to make one comment, and that is, we understand the hardship, Mr. Anderson, that's going to cause to you. However, these tough decisions have also had to been made by other communities. Itchitucknee River literally blocked off the north part of the river to tubing. Okay, so a vendor lost their business. Go south of here and to Weeki their vendor was told to cut their operation, and that was also the same situation as you, is that the vendor that was continuing to exceed the numbers that the park management plan had originated was exceeding that number like ×5, and they were told to shut down. The Bravos River in Texas, not only did they cut out half the vendors, but they pick and chose, and not only did they cut down the event, certain vendors, they started actually had those vendors collect a head tax on everybody they put on the river to help maintain the site where people were entering and the exit site also. So this isn't just Dunnellon that this is happening to. And people are having to make, at their city councils, tough decisions on this. That's my comment.
Okay. Anyone else that would like to make any further comments on this?
Just real quick, is it still in here? I've read so many versions that I'm probably blind by now, but do we still have it in here where there are exceptions if they come and get permission from the county, or the city, excuse me?
I'm not quite sure, exceptions if you get permission.
To have commercial use at the park. At one time, we had that exception.
So in this case, the prohibition, there's a prohibition unless it's approved by a written agreement by the city of Dunnellon and FCC.
Okay, so, okay,
As this is written. Now, if there is a further resolution that, prohibits, that then that'll be part of the plan. It is part of the ordinance,
So there are, okay.
recognizing that, and right now, the only approved commercial use is the KP Little Shuttle Service, per the management plan.
And do we have, is there a process, and again, I've read so many of these, I have blind by them. Was there a provision where we can now fine people if they are dropping off people?
That's within the ordinance.
Okay, that is, okay. I was just making sure I'd seen it all and read every one of them. Okay.
Mr. Hand, I think to follow up on Vice Mayor's question, I think what she was asking with the ordinance as it's being discussed, it still allows, along with the management plan, that commercial activity can be allowed if the city and FCT, right?
Yes.
Agrees to allow it, correct?
Yes, commercial activity, of course, one is going just to shuttling, then commercial activity in general is, if it's permitted and per an agreement, then yes, you come to an agreement to allow it. Now, there are going to be a number of activities that the FCT would not agree to because of the nature of the grant. But if it's not a problem and the two parties come to an agreement, then it could be permitted if they're not already prohibited.
Okay, very good.
There's mud.
All right. So what this is commercial activity would be allowed if it's authorized to be allowed through an agreement of the city and FCT. And that's the way it has been and the way it is currently being written. Okay. Any other comments? So we have a motion. Has this been done yet? Resolution 2021-16 to be approved?
We have the motion, we have the second.
Okay, and we've had the
Finishing
discussion.
yes.
Okay, discussion is
The
closed.
village.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. At this time, so we don't forget, there was an addition to the resolution where we were going to ask staff to create additional language in addition to this resolution that would identify KP Hole as right now the sole shuttle service in the park. Correct. We have a consensus by council to direct staff to come up with a language for our consideration at our February meeting.
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
It's just a consensus, it's not a vote, correct?
So is there does there have to be a vote?
Either way. I believe you voted on it the last time.
Yeah.
That I forwarded the resolution to the partners. It was an
Is there a
action.
consensus to do that?
I agree.
Ms. Williams?
I'd like to see what they say.
Yes, well, it's a consensus for them to do it and present it to us, correct? Okay.
So what you're asking us to do is to take the new resolution, 2022-03, and do the same thing that we did with 2021-16, send it to Office of Greenways and Trails, Marion County, and FCT for their review and comment before it comes back to you for adoption.
Andrew, do you agree with that interpretation? What Mandy just said?
Could you say it one more time, Mandy, please?
Yes, that what they're directing us to do is to forward the resolution, just like we did with 2021-16,
To the partners. Yes, that's correct.
To OGT, FCT, and Marion County for their review and comment before we bring it back before you with or without their written agreement for your consideration in February.
So we'll know, it's already been vetted out and we'll know whether or not it's worth going forward with or not. Okay, so you're going to do the work between now and the next council meeting.
Correct.
Okay. All right, you have been instructed. All right, now we're going to, Mandy, I believe the public hearing statement.
Yes. All persons wishing to address the city council will be asked to limit their comment to the specific subject being addressed. Public opinions and input are valued by the council. However, it is requested that comments are directed at specific issues rather than personal comments directed toward the council members or staff in order to foster mutual respect between council members and the public. Members of the public in attendance at public forums should listen courteously and attentively to all public discussions before the body and focus on the business at hand. They shall refrain from interrupting other speakers, making personal comments not germane to the business of the body, or otherwise interfering with the orderly conduct of meetings. Members of the public addressing city council and boards or commissions on a specific project or proposal are requested to disclose any personal interest or relationship and any business, professional, or financial interests with any individual, group, project, or proposal regarding the subject matter under review. Members of the public should always err on the side of more public disclosure, not less, in order to provide integrity to the process.
Okay, thank you very much. In the red line that's on that page, follow public hearing notes, public comment taken during public hearing. When is that?
That's now.
Now?
Yeah.
If there's any public comment?
That's where you're going to go to the notes that I gave you, number 1,
Number 1. So I go over those first and then there's public comment?
during the public hearing, yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right. We are going to agenda item number 14. It is now 7:14 p.m. and I close the regular meeting and open the public hearing to discuss Ordinance 2021-02, amending Article 1 of Chapter 46, creating Article 3, Blue Run Park, establishing rules and regulations for Blue Run Park, posted on the city's website on 12/02/2021 and advertised in the Riverland News on 12/31/2021. Staff comment, Andrew?
Okay, so this is the ordinance that came before you for first reading. It's now back for you again. If you have any questions on it, we can go through that. I don't have anything else to add, other than based on, the action that you're looking at taking, I would recommend a few changes. And you do have and they're just very, very simple changes. One to the whereas clause. You'll see on lines 14 and 15, maybe amended from time to time. This is just inserting the date of the passage of this resolution that we just passed. And as the date of the adoption of this ordinance most recently amended by the City Council of the City of Dunnellon on January 10th, 2022, referencing the latest change to the management plan. At the very end of the ordinance will become effective on April 1st, 2022, following Resolution 2021-16 and any other resolution amending the Blue Run Park Management Plan. So between now and April 1st, the management plan is amended in any other way. It's just signaling that this ordinance will become effective following those changes. It just makes good sense to change the actual plan prior to changing anything that's being implemented by the plan. Very similar to what you would see with a comprehensive plan versus land development regulations.
Very good. Any other staff comment? Okay, public comment on agenda item number 14. This is a different item, so you can speak to it again if you'd wish. Yes, Mr. Biver. Name and address.
William Bibbert, 9552 Southwest 192nd Court Road, Dunnellon. We've been talking about this for a long time, and I'm sure you'd be happy to not see me get up here and talk about this again. But I wanted to take us back to the beginning of how we got started with this. The reason we got started with this is because in the management plan, there was a requirement to have an ordinance that identified what the rules are and have them posted throughout the park. Somehow we ended up with a resolution and not an ordinance. So what we're going through now is basically should be a very simple administrative process. We're taking the rules that were written in 2008 and converting them from a resolution into an ordinance. That's really what we're up to here. So it's a pretty simple thing. And I have both documents in front of me just to comment on. if you look at the 2008 rules and regulations for Blue Run Park, and you look at the ordinance that we just talked about that you're about to vote on, you will find that these two documents are almost identical. The only changes are we decided to allow fishing in the pond, which we all agreed on that. And the reason that we banned fishing originally was because the park wasn't open and there were very large alligators in there. And we didn't want needed to get attacked by an alligator. So we passed that was the rule at that time. So it needed to be changed and made good sense. And there are a lot of fish there and kids enjoy fishing. So that was one thing. The other thing, we didn't have any trails in 2008. The park wasn't even open yet. So there's a rule in here about conflicts between vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians, so the pedestrians have the right of way. The discussion we're having about commercial use, I'll just read you what was in the ordinance in 2000 in the management plan. Commercial use is prohibited except by written permission from the city of Dunnellon and approved by FCT. That's where we are today. So these rules are the same, pretty much. And we've had a pretty good debate, but what we're really doing, all we're doing is putting it into an ordinance form. So that's pretty much what it is. So there really is not a controversial thing. It's really an administrative function that we're going through now, which is required by FCT. And I'll just read you what the language is and then I'll be done. The city of Dunnellon within 1 year, this is from the management plan, will develop an ordinance that will establish the rules, regulations, and policies for public use of Blue Run Park, Dunnellon. The purpose of the ordinance will be to ensure that the natural resources of the park are protected while providing visitors with compatible access that is consistent with the goals of the management plan. The rules will also reduce user conflicts that can result from inappropriate use. The rules and policies will be posted throughout the park and be available in a park brochure. And then it has the examples. So I just wanted to take us back to the beginning of where we started. And hopefully tonight we'll be finished with this. And I want to thank the council and thank Andrew and all the people that have worked on this, because I think it's something that's an important part of the park so that the visitors know what the rules are. Very simple thing in every park that you go to. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak to agenda item number 14? Yes, Mr. Anderson.
Chris Anderson, 11463 North William Street. To what Mr. Vibert said, there actually was resolution 2015-11 that said commercial use was prohibited except by licensed city business tax receipt kayak and tube companies. And matter of fact, that signage was posted on the sign at Blue Run Park. And I believe, Mayor White, I think you took a picture of it and sent it to, I think, Mandy at one point in time. So we were following those rules. Back to what Ms. Cubbage said in months past, that what we were doing is illegal. No, in fact, what we were not doing was illegal. We were following the rules that were put in place there at the time. And there was nothing illegal, and there's no need to trespass anybody for following the rules. So I just want to clear the air on that. But it is in the purview of the city to regulate the commercial use within the park, which I would agree, but not an outright prohibition of what the city would consider commercial use with their newly defined definition, or anything contrary to what was stated in the original grant application that got the funding for the park. If you go back, there's conflicting information, okay? Or the approved management plan that's 200 and some odd pages. And I don't know if anybody up here has read all 220 some pages, but let me just tell you, there's more information in there than you can think of. There's never been a necessity to have any formal document in writing considered to be accepted by FCT in the city of Dunnellon, because it's already been determined by FCT that the activity was not considered disallowable. In addition, the resolution that was adopted by the city regulated such activities. There's no basis to have permission granted for an activity that has been publicly known to occur for 10 years that is an approved use and or regulation. If this posted speed limit is 35 miles per hour, there's no need to ask for acceptance in writing if one can go 35 miles per hour, okay? Just some stuff from the thing. The preservation of the site as an alternative to development provides recreational access to Rainbow River and will continue its historical use as a recreational tube or takeout. The loss of this amenity would be a significant impediment for the recreational use of the Rainbow River, both for the local community as well as for the ecotourism associated with the river. All right, page 9, FCT grant application. In addition, page 81 of 226 of the approved management plan, it mentions 3 outfitters in Dunnellon rent canoes and kayaks for the use on Rainbow River. Okay, this was all information that was sent in to I'm just looking, I'm talking to the wall. Anyway, so I'm just, this is all stuff that hasn't been talked about, I want to make sure everybody's aware of. And it, of course, get a little worked up on it, but that was in the original management plan that was approved, and it states all that. So this has never been a secret of that there would be any shuttling or anything, and of course, it says shuttle services would occur. But it doesn't, what it does say, not to be performed only by governmental entities. It does not say that. It says shuttle services would occur. One could understand if there was an exclusive concessionaire doing business at Blue Run Park with the rental of equipment on site and were conducting business on the property by selling beverages or hot dogs with the generation of revenue on site. But we're talking about the private sector providing a public service for those individuals who choose the private sector for their transportation service option, just as they would have the freedom of choice to choose a taxi, Uber, Lyft, or any other preempted transportation network company authorized by the state of Florida.
Mr. Anderson, 30 seconds.
Okay, now, you know, I do believe much of this comes down to interpretation that can only properly be determined in a court of law as far as what particular activities would be considered commercial use of the park. Either way, the Blue Run Park ordinance was supposed to be implemented within 1 year, like Mr. Cribbert said, per the grant contract by the city of Dunnellon, and the city of Dunnellon's negligence by failing to act in a timely manner has now caused major discrepancies, differences of legal opinion on certain rights, and has caused undue hardships on other members of the public. After, you know, former city administrator has publicly conceded in writing to the fact that this was an allowable activity, and not just for FCT grant contract purposes, and has since considered the issue closed, but now we've kind of resurrected this thing. But my main concern here is the real question of play comes down to all the public entities involved following federal laws that pertains to the Americans with Disabilities Act. More so with the city of Dunnellon, since they'll be responsible, you know, for enforcing such measures as it pertains to the ordinance. Title II of the ADA prohibits discrimination against qualified individuals.
Anderson, you have to finish up.
And Title II and Title III cover public accommodations, facility access, and also include public transportation for both public and private entities. So I just got a little bit more here. You know,
Mr. Anderson, you might have another opportunity to speak.
Okay.
We have more.
I'm just finishing up here. I've always tried to make it 3 minutes, and some of these others have gone almost 10 minutes.
All right.
So
you get 30 seconds, and if you're in mid-sentence, I'll stop.
each entity, both public and private, they have certain legal responsibilities that have to be upheld according to federal law. With that being said, we just need to be very careful on what has been approved in this ordinance that ultimately can cause conflict between the local and federal law, which in turn result in litigation with any rights that may be infringed upon with the adverse enforcement of this ordinance by not respecting those rights and duties owed to certain individuals and entities that provide services for those disabled members of the public seeking access to the Rainbow River. Okay?
Okay, Mr. Anderson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else in the room that would like to speak? Bill, you haven't spoke to this item yet?
I want to clarify one point.
No, we're good, we're good. Anyone else that would like to speak?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Coker.
Jim, clarify that. The 2015 resolution signs that.
My name is David Coger. I still live at 11983 Palmetto Way. I'd like clarification as what the original sign, was it 2003? 2015 sign regulation said. What did it state?
I can answer that.
It's not our position to answer those, kind of questions without knowing ahead of time the questions are going to be asked. If you would like to ask that question, we can certainly give you the answer when we're prepared to give you the answer.
Is that answer on the website?
No.
No? Okay, next time I would like an answer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else that would like to speak to item number 14? Yeah.
Bobby Valio, 11463 North William Street. I actually have a picture of the sign that he's talking about. And what it says is commercial use is prohibited except for drop off and pickup by licensed business tax receipt tube and kayak companies. Very specific. And we had that. I just want to echo support for Mr. Anderson and what we're going through with this whole deal. We've been trying real hard to participate and have our voices heard, but unfortunately, it feels like it's been falling on deaf ears. We've played by the rules. We've made sure that we have the proper documentation, the ADA accessible buses, whatever they've asked for, we've got. And here we are today fighting for our livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to make comment? Art? Yes.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I'm kind of hoping that you have some sympathy for the private businesses in town, because just allowing the county to be the only commercial business may not be the best choice. I understand the county helped with the park, and I'm not sure the exact relationship, but they made promises to build those restrooms, and now they're saying, oh, well, then now costs are going up. Well, that was years ago when it could have been done. So I'm really not happy with the county operation. They flood the river with tubers all at once, and then it's a traffic jam. And I think the private businesses were handling a little better, where when they had a group, they sent them up. They seemed to take better care of them and stuff. So I think the county is kind of taking it for granted a little more. But whatever you decide, it's in whatever you decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Julianne?
Julianne Mendoza, 11894 East Blue Cove Drive. Just 2 quick points. Without the county, we wouldn't even have the park. And that sign in 2015 was in reference to a business tax, and it was always put there to prevent commercial liveries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else that would like to speak to item number 14? Yes. Ms. Dunn.
Kathy Dunn, 11386 Hendricks Drive. Anybody who thinks that our river is not being accessed is not out there in the summertime, because it is. They're finding ways. It's being over-accessed. The other thing is, we're not taking away someone's livelihood. We're just trying to limit the access of Blue Run Park for commercial use. That's it. It cannot handle the amount of commercial use that is being given. In addition to that, Swampy's parking lot, overflow parking lot, is being rented out for people that come and want to access the swimming area that really doesn't exist at Blue Run Park. So we have a multitude of problems. We're trying to address them now because they've gotten out of control in the past. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Ms. Odom, everybody has had an opportunity to speak that would care to speak. It is now 7:30 p.m. and I close the public hearing held to discuss Ordinance 2021-02 and reopen the January 10th council meeting. So now we're moving to number 15 on the agenda if you're following. This is the final reading of Ordinance 2021-02, Blue Run Park Rules and Regulations. Again, it is open to public comment. This is the final reading. Does anyone in the audience like to speak to number 15? Yes.
I'll take the turn. No, you go first, please.
Ladies first.
My husband would disagree with you.
That's why you live on the river, tie a chicken around his ankle. No.
Yeah, people
Ms. Hilton, name and
Mary Ann
address.
Hilton, 12078 Palmetto Court, Dunnellon, Florida. I had been a resident in that same spot for well over 20 years. And I have fallen in love with a city and a state that I never thought I would want to live in. Okay? was a Yankee. My family's all from up north or down south. But after I got here, I found that I was living in a community that was very much like the two other communities I've lived in. We knew all of our neighbors. We got along well. We were kind to one another. And I live in a subdivision just down the street from here where I run into the same people. So I love it here. I don't want to see argument. I don't want to see unhappiness. And the people that operate this park and the gentlemen that have given us such a tremendous gift in forming this park and have put blood, sweat, tears, and money into it need to be honored and respected by every person that ever sets foot on that land. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Anderson?
Just kind of try to, Chris Anderson, 11463 North William Street. So, you know, the one part of it, with, where does somebody like myself go? Where do we take out? There is no alternative publicly defined exit point to take out. And that was part of the original purchase, or the reason for the grant was to provide a publicly defined exit point. Okay, and it states in there that it would be, you know, a big loss to the city if that was not able to come up for renewal or was able to be purchased in joint venture with the county. You know, one of the other things, you know, we just cannot let political agendas get in the way of the rights of the people, in addition to the many patrons with disabilities that come to visit the Rainbow River and access Blue Run Park with private, non-governmental, ADA accessible paratransit vehicles such as the ones that we provide such service with. You know, hopefully, you know, all the partners involved can come to consensus and recognize that such issues will inevitably come up in the near future due to such drastically adverse measures being taken by the city of Dunnellon that will ultimately infringe on certain rights, which will result in unnecessary financial expenditures for all parties involved, along with the drawn-out litigation process as the end result. You know, and it would just be a travesty for any potential discrimination that would be the result of any adverse enforcement of this ordinance by the city of Dunnellon that would preclude us from providing equal opportunity to the many patrons with disabilities that we serve. Okay? You know, there's people that come from out of town that rely on our service because they don't have the physical power to unload and unload their kayak to go. They don't have two vehicles, leave one at one end, one at the other. You go there in the off season right now, there's not a single parking spot to be had. You know, and this is the off season, and so, you know, what are we accomplishing here? We're not taking up any parking spaces for any people that are coming from out of town and wanting to utilize the park or walk their dog or walk the trail. You know, we're literally pulling in, we're picking up the people that are wanting to enjoy the river, and we're leaving. You know, and we have never, if there has been an issue, we fix it right on the spot as fast as possible. It's never been an issue. Now, it's easy to take a picture and paint a picture, you know, 1,000 words with that picture. But I'm here to tell you, you know, differently. And whenever the season first started, Mayor White, I believe you went up to Bobby and said, hey, you keep doing what you're doing, you won't have to hear from me. Well, it's been the exact opposite. You know, we've done nothing but, you know, here it is where we're fighting to try to stay alive here. So, you know, there's just a lot of things. I think, you know, is regulation? Yes. Back to what Ms. Cubbage said. Other places around here that are doing different things, you're right, just like Crystal River, but you know what they're doing? They're regulating, they're not prohibiting, they're not banning. And that's why we were trying to present an agreement to the city, and so here it is, an agreement acceptable in writing. Well, we presented you an agreement with, in writing, but there's been no further discussion. So how can we, you know, how do we know what we can and can't do if we cannot further that discussion? So, have a major issue with that. So you're putting in the ordinance one thing, acceptable in writing. We presented you an agreement in writing, and we have not been afforded the opportunity to further that discussion to try to make something mutually beneficial for all of us. Thank you. Please take that into further consideration.
Still? May I have 2 minutes?
Thank you.
Maybe even one?
She already spoken. Have you spoken to the subject yet?
Yes, she did.
I just came down from there,
Huh?
just had this other gentleman who had also spoken to you, while you were sitting out there.
I mean, I think you've already
Yes, she-
spoken
yes, she
on
spoke
this. so
before
no.
Mr. Anderson did.
Anyone else who has not spoken to
One more time.
Here comes.
Mr.
One more time. Yes, Art Jones, 12163. I did it during public.
We're still on the same topic. You only
No,
speak
no, no,
once.
no, we're on a different ordinance, we're on a different.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yes,
there was public comment taken during the public hearing.
okay.
We closed the public hearing. We've moved on to the final reading. You're accepting public comment on the final reading of the ordinance now. The only two people that have spoken on item number 15 so far is Mary Ann Hilton and Chris Anderson.
Mr. Jones, have at it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to take me off subject a little bit. When we had 3 people die on the river, I think that was in 2019. We had 3 people die, and I was one of the volunteers that got together on what we can do to make the river safer. And we figured out many things. One of them actually happened. We got the numbers on the wood duck boxes. So if someone's on the river and I'm like near number 18, now the sheriff knows where to go. That was one of the solutions that happened. However, in our discussions, we talked about really the 4-hour tube is like way too long. Wouldn't it be nice if everybody got out at the state? You know, KP Holers and the state people to get in there, funnel everybody out through there and take the pressure off Blue Run Park. And that made sense, because now you could have some private contractors using Blue Run Park and it's not being crowded. So like Mr. Anderson was saying, you know, giving a little bit better service with people with disabilities, or a little bit more catering to people with special needs, and, you know, actually people in the city making a profit doing private business. And so we thought that was a great idea, you know, get everybody out at the state, you know, that's out of town, out of Blue Run Park, takes the pressure off there. However, unfortunately, the state doesn't want to share with the county, and, you know, now we have 2 government agencies that aren't even willing to work together. So it's kind of sad. But, you know, and I don't want to see another government agency not willing to work with private enterprise and listen to them and you know, find a compromise. Because it's really, everybody has a right to enjoy the river. Everybody. We're all equal when it comes to that. When it's hot out, people want access to that river. So, you know, I understand there's a lot of people that say, well, there's too many people there already. But usually when there's too many people there already, they're pouring them out of the county facility or the state facility. It's not the private people that are overrunning the river. So I'm just looking at some compromise here with City Council. I just want to say that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jones. Anyone else who has not spoken? We know 3 people have spoken to this. Anyone else who would like to speak to this? All right. Please take note, everybody who has wanted to speak has been given the opportunity to speak. Council, refocus on item number 15. We need a proposed motion. I need a motion that ordinance 2021-02 be read by title only. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
Okay. All this needs is a motion and a second and a vote. All in favor of reading this in title only?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Andy?
Ordinance number ORD 2021-02, an ordinance of the City of Dunnellon, Florida, amending Chapter 46 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Dunnellon, amending Article 1 of Chapter 46, creating Article 3, Blue Run Park, establishing rules and regulations for Blue Run Park via ordinance, establishing fines for violations, establishing the appeal process, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you very much. We need a motion for ordinance 2021-02 to be approved.
I move ordinance 2021-02 be approved.
We have a second.
I second it.
Ms. Covich. Any further discussion?
I just would like to state, or not Mr. Anderson, please, it's not for you, but as a governmental agency, I think it is important for us to, when we do have someone come to us and want to do a service in our town, that we give them the benefit of presenting and not be stonewalled like you have, like certain businesses have been done in this city. I know that when Mr. Anderson did come here, certain council members basically said, I don't want to hear what he has to say. And I mean, that's on tape. I'm not making this up. So I do recommend that we, at a city council workshop, he come and give a proposal of an idea of how, or him or anyone else that would like to give a proposal. Because even though Mr. Jones, you say, just let everybody come onto the river, you know, again, y'all all know the story. Sydney took her first steps in the river. I probably did too. It's not the same river that it was when I was a child. You know, I don't see the rainbows like I used to. Either it's my eyesight, probably, but I sadly think it's the usage of the river. And people are rude with our treasure. They don't love it as much as we do. They just come here for a day or two and then get off. But there are those that do love it and do honor it like we do. So there should be a happy median. And I think there are a lot of different ways that we can work with our citizens. Brick and mortar being very important, not just I do it out of the back of my pickup truck. So I would recommend to anyone interested in looking to do a proposal of how we can better the city, better the city with our ecotourism, and with the designation that we just received, work with them as well to help us figure out how it is best to get people from point A to point B in a safe, efficient, physically responsible, and environmentally responsible manner.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Anyone else? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion is over. We're going to bring it to a vote to approve Ordinance 2021-02. Those that are in favor of approving this ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Please notify or document it was passed unanimously. Okay, we're going to number 16. It is now 7:45 p.m. and I close the regular meeting and open the public hearing to discuss Ordinance 2021-03, amending Chapter 14, Animals, providing animal control services through adoption of provisions of Marion County Animal Control Ordinance and enforcement through interlocal agreement with Marion County, posted on the city's website on 12/02/2021 and advertised in the Riverland News on 12/31/2021. Staff comment, Andrew?
Yes, be happy to speak to this one. You've had a chance to go through this ordinance at the previous workshop. Nothing has changed on it. And of course, this is the final reading. All this ordinance does is adopt Marion County's regulations, so it operates the same as Marion County. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, very good. Anything else from staff?
Not other than it was necessary in order for us to enter into the interlocal agreement with them to provide animal control services in the city.
Okay, and Troy, you seem to have spoken to this. Do you have anything to say on this?
Yeah, just a reminder that it also helps with our budgeting process where we have a set fee annually rather than a case-by-case fee that could fluctuate.
Okay, very good. You heard staff. Anyone in attendance, would you like to make a public comment on agenda item number 16? No public comment. Mandy? It is now 8:48 PM and I close the public hearing held to, yes.
7:48. You said.
Oh, 7.
Yeah, our
I'll tell you, oh, my eyes. I'm not used to this. Okay, gavel down. It is now 7:47, right?
7:49.
Huh?
7:49.
49 PM, and I close the public. All right. I close the public hearing held to discuss ordinance 2021-03 and reopen the January 10th council meeting. Okay.
I move the mayor be authorized. Are we allowed to do that yet?
I need a title only first.
Oh, okay, well, I move ordinance 2021-03 be read by title only.
We have a second.
Second.
All right, this does need a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Andy, please read by title only.
Ordinance number ORD 2021-03. An ordinance repealing provisions of and amending Chapter 14 Animals, providing animal control services through adoption of provisions of Marion County Animal Control Ordinance and enforcement through interlocal agreement with Marion County, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Okay.
I move ordinance ORD 2021-03 be approved.
We have a second.
Second.
Discussion. Please note no discussion by council. All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. We go to agenda item number 18, Agreement 2021-23 Marion County Animal Control Services. Mandy.
Yes, this is the agreement that we just spoke about. If you recall, we did discuss this at the previous workshop. This does provide for the county to come in to the city when a call is made for animal control without them having to contact either myself or Troy or the police department to get permission to come into the city. The fee that they're charging us will be the same distribution formula as the half-cent sales tax throughout the county, which Dunnellon equals to 0.45% of Marion County's prior year expenses. Because this is not something that we were initially prepared for when they approached us about this, they offered to phase in the cost of services. So the first year, they've offered to provide services at 50% for fiscal year 2022, 75% for 23, and 100% thereafter. For the current fiscal year, the amount due will be $4,256.58, or 50% of $8,513.15 for the current budget year.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment on agenda item number 18? Okay. We need a motion for the mayor to authorize to sign the agreement 2021-23 with Marion County Animal Control Services.
moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Please note, no discussion. For approval, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. We go to number 19, Resolution 2022-01, Surplus Vehicles and Equipment. Troy, why don't you give us a overview of what this is all about?
Just recently, we did come up with a list of vehicles that are ready to go out for surplus, no longer usable or serve a purpose for the city. I'd be guessing unless Mandy can pull the document up, but I think there's 9 vehicles on the list. A couple of, how many we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 vehicles. A couple are from Public Works, a couple are from the police department, and one is a leftover vehicle from the old fire department at the top of the list there.
And we have to get the 5 Crown Victorias repainted.
They have to be
Or
stripped, all the equipment has to be stripped out of them and de-striped or the decals taken off.
And that was the $500 per.
There is one vehicle that will need to be repainted because it's a black and white. So it has to either be, it has to be all one color or not black and white. I can do that as well. So we're working on that. If we have an expense that is outside of our budget capability, we'll come back to council.
Do you think we'll get the $500 back?
I believe we could.
No, I mean, I just got $600 for my Jaguar. So.
Selling, did you sell it or scrap it? If you don't mind me asking.
I traded that beautiful car in
Oh.
for a new mortgage payment.
We're going to look into multiple options in disposing of the vehicles. One, what we think we can get for it at auction at Weeks, or an in-house auction. So in other words, we could have a sealed auction process in-house. Save us tow bills, save us auction fees and so forth. So we are going to look into multiple options. The rest of the surplus items there are miscellaneous equipment and supplies, especially from Public Works, where we found a stockpile of old, no longer usable weed eaters, blowers, edgers, trimmers, and so forth. And also computers from around the city, some dating all the way back to the start of Greenlight. So the computers have been inventoried and ready for disposal as well. And again, we have it in the resolution for utilizing multiple options in disposing or surplusing of the equipment. And as Jan stated before, any revenues brought in from that, it's rolled right back into general fund, correct? And then distributed during the budget process.
Thank you very much, Troy. That list is impressive. That's a lot of spring cleaning, right?
It took us a couple of weeks to get it together.
Yeah.
But we're ready to get that out of the way so we can come up with the next list.
And before I forget, I just want to compliment you and your staff. It looks like you got behind the police building real well and cleaned all that junk out of there. It looks a lot better than it had. It's noticeably nicer with the effort you put in there.
Thank you, sir.
Call you Mr. Clean.
Just don't call me the cleaner. Issues.
Okay, so Troy has made his report. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment on item number 19? No comment? Okay. Proposed motion. We need a motion of resolution 2022-01 to be read by title only.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Pass. Mandy?
Resolution number RES 2022-01, a resolution of the City of Dunnellon, Florida, declaring certain property as surplus and providing for disposal thereof.
Very good. We need a motion for resolution 2022-01 to be approved.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion on this? No discussion. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Now we're at the Agenda item number 20, council liaison reports or comments. Ms. Covich, you have anything for us?
Not tonight.
What?
Not tonight.
Ms. Kenny?
No.
Ms. Williams, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, y'all gonna shoot me dead, because I want to get out of here quickly so I can go watch that Bama Georgia game. Roll Tide. Yes, tonight at 8. I know, we gotta pop this puppy. So anyway, and I know I'm half the cause, so my apologies. Or my mom will text me if they make a score. Just saying. All right. Again, kind of what I passed out to the city council tonight was we walk on a path together. We don't always have to agree with each other. We don't even have to decide on what the path is supposed to look like. But I truly believe in my heart of hearts that we, especially as a council, you are up here trying to do what you think's best. So I was speaking to someone out here who's not even a resident of the city of Dunnellon, and he was asking my opinions about something, and I said, when I come into a place, when I come to a vote, listen to different ideas, I honestly come in not to decide if you voted for me, or if you didn't vote for me, or if you don't even vote. Doesn't matter. You live in the city limits of Dunnellon. I don't care if you're 1 day old or 100 days old or 100 years old. I am up here representing you to the best of my ability. Be it right, be it wrong, do we agree all the time? We don't have to. I don't want to agree with each and every one of you because that's not what we're about. And I listen to the public, those that sit out here in this audience, those that are sitting at home, those that I see in the grocery store, that I meet that are looking to come to Dunnellon. I listen to everyone, and I want to hear your opinions, and I want to hear your thoughts, and I want to hear why you think of these things and so forth. And usually when we have disagreements, when you sit at the podium or we hear things, we as a council don't usually respond. We try to be not combative with anyone or do anything to those things. However, time and time again, things have been said, things have been printed that are not accurate, that are not the truth. And that was the case in the letter to the editor that was printed on January 7th. And it's sad, the little cartoon above it has these characters looking like they're in the snow that says, "Thank goodness the holidays are over and we can stop pretending we don't hate everyone." Well, I don't hate anyone. I don't dislike anyone. I do take exception, though, when things are misquoted and missaid. So I did ask staff, and God forbid they have enough to do without having to respond to misinformation constantly. But, something that states the city is now in millions of dollars in debt with limited sources of income. We are, and when you say millions, to me, I first think 5, 10, 15 million. I'm going to think big or go home. We are, if you're going to make those kind of statements, it's 1.925 million, and it's interest 3 being paid off through 2032, which is another 11 years. So, and we do have a plan, and it is being taken out of the budget every year. When we make statements like, the revenues have gone away and the responsibilities have gone away, but yet we haven't gotten rid of our staffing. We haven't lowered our staffing. That, again, is a misstatement. It's not the full picture. The city manager was removed from the charter in 2016. The assistant clerk eliminated when city administrator position created in 2017. City clerk absorbed all the duties of the clerk and assistant clerk. A full-time accounts payable clerk reduced to part-time. Full-time finance accountant position eliminated, replaced in 2020 with part-time accounting AP clerk, and then made into a full-time in 2021 because they took on the responsibilities of the payroll duties, which the city clerk had been doing. Part-time staff assistant position at City Hall has been eliminated. Full-time public works staff assistant eliminated. And it is now being used, they are now using a part-time AARP. We don't pay for that. City administrator position eliminated. City clerk absorbed duties and assistant clerk position reinstated. Just because, although you're a great mandate, you're not superwoman. You don't need enough, of your Wheaties every day. Our budget, it's saying that we didn't downsize our budget. However, we did cumulatively, and I can go through since I asked from the 2016 budget down to the 2022 budget. Cumulatively, we've reduced our budget $68,413. There's a statement about if we put the police here, that they can watch over additional boat trailer parking that is proposed at City Hall. There is no new proposed trailer parking at City Hall. I guess the city staff, if we did that, would have to go park at Gruss, and we'd have to do an agreement with them over there. And then it states that that our building is underutilized. There is the city council room. Now, I do go in there on occasions and make phone calls and do such and write things down, but I know that past mayors have gone in there and used it. I mean, every time I'd come in, I had to kick one of them out one time because I needed to make a private phone call, and I kicked him out so I could go in there.
You're talking about this room?
No, sir, I'm talking about our city council room.
Okay.
They've, made statements that our conference room is not used. I have used it at city functions meeting with other organizations multiple times. I know Georgina, sorry, throwing you on the bus, girl. When you have a developer come in, or even somebody just with their house plans and they want to do something, you can't do it on your desk. Let's face reality. You use this conference room. So the building is not being underutilized. I mean, you go into any of y'all's offices, you've got boxes in there as art decoration. And the maintenance of this building, they're saying that it's just, basically falling apart at the edges. Well, I know a lot of buildings in this city that are a lot worse than this building. And we do have, $36,000 for new carpeting. It's not molded, by the way. I heard that the other day. There was no mold in our carpet. Well, I'm sure there's some, but nothing that's making them sick and black fungus going on. And then there's $1,000 for something, just a general fund. And I believe Troy Slattery.
I'd like to call this meeting back to order, because I believe that when people express their opinions in a public forum, then it should be readdressed in that public forum. In other words, instead of going on here, every one of us council people could pick up a letter every week and spend half an hour disputing statements. Councilman Hancher, the proper thing to do is write a letter, opinion opportunity, which the editor of the paper would be happy to print.
Sir,
I'd
she's
like to
interrupting
end
my
this
time.
conversation at this time and finish the business of this meeting.
All right.
And I appreciate your opinion.
So Vice Mayor.
I'm about to wrap it up if she had not
'cause
interrupted.
You were the one that said you were going to do it quick.
This is as quick as I can speak, sir. And I usually, and no offense, I don't have any pictures. So I got you on that one.
I'd like to call.
So anyway,
The chair is going to let her finish, okay? Please.
Merci. So anyway, in other words, and Troy Slattery, as I stated beforehand, he's not going to let, if he sees something in the city hall, leaking toilets. He's going to make sure that those types of items are taken out. So again, I just wanted to put it out there in public, since it has been brought up in a city council workshop last Wednesday, and it was posted in the newspaper, that the information was at best a little Swiss cheesy with all the facts. Thank you.
Okay. I just have a couple of statements, really. Councilwoman Cubbage, I want to compliment you on a very powerful written op-ed in the Ocala Star. I've read it. Naturally, I can't tell you my opinion of it until now, and I want you to know that I thought you represented yourself. You represented the thoughts of the area, and it was very well written. Mr. Hand, we are expecting at next month's meeting an examination of charging for ramp fees and what that can
be done.
Can be done with that. As far as the police building, we do have a individual. You all saw his bio that was sent to us of Mr. Pat Shepard, who is has credentials as a developer, builder, big times kind of stuff. Mr. Shepard has told me that he is bringing his architect into town, and they will look at the Soul Harbor Church and give us finally the information we need, and also look at the current police building and see if it is really true that that building is beyond repair. So if they have that information for us, I probably will be calling a special workshop. I don't think I'd call one separate, but I will probably duplicate what we did last time. We're at the January workshop. We might start a little early and let Mr. Shepard give us.
February.
February, right. Yeah, and let him give us a report. What Vice Mayor Hanchar said tonight is really true. We need to at least start eliminating some of the proposals and start narrowing what we're going to do. We have two individuals on the council that their positions are very clear and very defined, what they think is the right choice. The majority has to, right now, come to an agreement one way or another and get the ball moving, because we have two members that absolutely are stating what they want to do, and the majority has to come to a conclusion what we want to do with this. This council demonstrated tonight the good work it has done by passing that Blue Run Park ordinance. That was an amazing accomplishment. We put months into that. It just shows what we can do when we're on the same page. And sadly, though, this police building, the police project is divisive with this council. It is something that we just have to focus on, deal with, come to a solution and live with it. One more thing on this council. I will say to this council, whether we make decisions that turn out to be correct or whether we make decisions that don't work out, I feel this council deals through its heart, through its passion, what it thinks is in the best interests of the city. And that's really all you can ask for, is have 5 individuals that come from different parts of the city that are up here just telling it how they see it and how they feel. So I think if you go through the last year of us working all together and put down the accomplishments of this council, which there is a list out there, you would be quite impressed with what we've accomplished together. So with that said, we may have a special workshop attached to our February workshop. I'll let you know based on that. And that's all I have to say. Okay, department head reports. Virginia?
No. I just wanted to say that I submitted a working file of all the items that planning, zoning, and code enforcement has been working on very diligently. And we've completed about 25% of that report. It keeps growing, but I want you all to know that we are prioritizing the issues that we get and the projects that we get. And we're giving priority to what needs to have priority. So just to let you know. And I do start school tomorrow, by the way. Just get
Do you?
letting you all know.
Where?
UCF.
Excellent.
Online? Online.
Oh, okay.
For now. I'm going to have a couple of classes I'm going to have to do in person, but we'll work with that when I get there.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. And that's all for community development.
Jan? Mandy, do you have anything? Police? Purposely left Troy for last. Because I know when you're done.
I've got nothing. You got my report last Wednesday.
Really? Excellent. Mr. Hand?
I have nothing, sir.
Very good, counsel. Congratulations, everybody. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
See y'all later.
Yes, Mandy?
Did you get Andrew?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear him call you. Okay.
Second? All
Aye.
in favor? Enjoy the game.
Peace out.
Thank you.
Roll Tide. Daddy graduated from there, so of course I have to.
I love it. I'm gonna make this quick. I want to see the game.
I told you I was gonna try that.